My childhood.
All right, welcome back to Ruin My Childhood, where we explore if some movies are better off left in the past. With us today, we have a guest calling in from sunny San Francisco, California. We have Thaddeus Ellenburg, host of Thaddeus Ellenburg's Casual Friday. How are you doing, Thaddeus?
I'm doing very well.
And as usual, Mike.
Hey, how's it going? Nice to meet you, Thaddeus.
It's nice to meet you.
All right, so I guess we should talk about what we remember from Edward Scissorhands, which is our film of the day. Thaddeus, how about you start? What did you think of this going into this podcast? What did you remember?
Well, I guess I'd forgotten how long it had been since I'd seen Edward Scissorhands, and it had been a very, very long time. Because when I started thinking about it, I was like, I don't really recall anything other than landscaping. And yeah, so that's how I'm going into this.
All right, so landscaping.
Landscaping.
I'm basically in the same boat. Like, this is a movie that I definitely remember watching when it was on TV, and I know I've seen this movie multiple times, but I only remember him doing the hedge trimming or landscaping. And I definitely remember this was like the first movie that Anthony Michael Hall was not like the skinny like wiener kid, but was actually like a tough guy. And I remember he gets stabbed at the end of the movie.
That's him?
Yeah, that's Anthony Michael Hall from Breakfast Club. The skinny, scrawny kid.
So weird.
Yeah.
I don't know if it's before or after the nose job, but it's right around there.
He had a
I didn't know
nose
he had a
job?
nose job.
You guys are blowing my mind. Okay.
I think it was a nose job. Anyone that's out there that's going to research this, he did something. I don't know if it was a nose, but something happened to his
I
face.
think he just hit late puberty.
Immediately. Well, that was like really late then. I mean, look at a before and after. Or I guess like John Hughes, and then I guess this would be the beginning of the post John Hughes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, like Breakfast Club, like those kids were all 30 already.
No, I think he was pretty
I think
young.
He had the whole like Dustin Diamond thing going on with that group.
Oh God.
Where he wasn't their age, and so he couldn't relate. I'm bull that part, but I really do think, I think he was young, because like Emilio, he was what, like 52 at Breakfast Club.
Easily 52.
Yeah, Charlie Sheen was 57. That's right.
Oh man.
Do you know which is older? Huge digression there. Does it?
I think Emilio's older.
Okay.
No, I actually think Charlie Sheen is older.
Really?
And then it's compounded by his drug use. Like Charlie Sheen's actually younger than my parents, and I've got young parents, but he easily looks 15 years older than them because of the drug use and other health problems that we know about now.
Anyway, enough about Charlie Sheen. What I remember from this movie, and I remembered quite a bit because I used to watch this movie on the regular. I loved this. And thinking back to it, I'm not entirely sure why my parents let me watch this movie, because it's a little bit disturbing, but I remember being obsessed with Johnny Depp because of this movie. And it was like I don't know. I feel like a lot of people who were teenagers in the 80s were obsessed with him already, but I was like the only one out of all my friends who actually knew who he was. And I had like a couple magazine clippings of him, and it was all just because of Edward Scissorhands. Then
Pirates of the Caribbean came out.
That was so
everybody
much.
Our age liked him.
Oh my God! Right, that was so long after this, though.
We'll have to look at this, but the amount of eyeliner might be around the same. We'll have to see.
Oh, but Edward's makeup is just so much better.
Well, he did have help, if I recall.
That's true.
I really don't remember this movie at all. Like, I was like Thaddeus said, thinking back when the last time I watched it, I don't think I've watched it for probably since I was like 11, 12, 13. It's probably been a good 15 years since I've watched this movie, and I couldn't tell you a single plot point other than, like I said, he landscapes and then kills Anthony Michael Hall.
Right.
Yeah.
And like I feel like now I remember a lot of it, but usually when I feel like I remember the entire movie, I watch it and I did not remember any of it and I was completely off. But let's just see. The IMDb synopsis says A gentleman with scissors for hands is brought into a new community after living in isolation. So basically nothing.
Sounds
Couldn't have said it better
like
myself.
the movie.
That sums every mental image I have.
That's all of it. All right,
Yeah.
so let's go watch this movie. All right.
Should we follow you?
Yes. Footsteps.
To the dark room.
From Tim Burton comes the most incredible tale of a most unusual character. Edward Scissorhands.
Hold me. I can't.
All right, we are back from watching Edward Scissorhands, and there was so much more to this movie than I remember, and I think I actually like it more than I did before, and I think it's because before I was just like a weird kid zoning out and enjoying the imagery of the entire thing, and not really like absorbing just how completely screwed up this story is.
This movie's dark, and originally going into it, we're doing this as one of our Halloween specials, and then initially while watching, I'm like, oh, maybe this isn't really a Halloween movie just because it's Tim Burton, but it's kind of like a Frankenstein angry mob kind of movie by the end of it. So I do think it kind of fits, but I completely forgot about all the interactions with the neighbors, especially that thirsty housewife one.
I mean, they were all housewives, but yeah.
But there was only one thirsty housewife.
Oof.
And I totally forgot about the scene in the back of the salon.
Yeah, me too.
That
And
came
then she
out
took
of
me to the back room where she takes
nowhere.
off all her clothes.
Yeah.
That was
What?
hysterical. Yeah.
And Vincent Price is in this movie.
Yeah.
Right.
And it's really great because like Tim Burton obviously obsessed with Vincent Price. He did the short animation Vincent, which is like a little guy just sort of it's you can find it on YouTube. That's a plug for YouTube. You get it's basically a little Vincent Price, but looks very much like Edward. And it's fantastic. So I love that he even like got him. But see, that was like early enough because that was what 1990. Is that what?
Yeah, this was 1990.
Right.
Yeah.
Vincent
I
Price
mean, that's
died in
still
like
early on.
93.
Right.
Right? Somewhere
And-
around there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I love that, and it's definitely it's German expressionism all over the place. I mean, you basically, I mean, Edward looks like the Cabinet Dr. Caligari. I mean, looks just like him. So it's like German expressionism meets pop art. I absolutely love that. That's one of my favorite things about Tim Burton is the sort of mass production. There's an assembly line in every single one of his movies, even the bad ones. And so it's great.
Yeah, he has Rube Goldberg machines and long takes.
All of
and
it.
everything. He did it in the Charlie and the Chocolate Factory remake.
But can we just talk about
well.
how that dough making machine, or the gingerbread making machine, did not work at all, and yet at some point production just gave up and was like, good enough.
No,
Yeah.
I mean, like in that first shot, the cookie cutter feet aren't even landing flush. They're like just landing on the toe or the heel. Some of them are completely straddling the dough.
Well, the thing that's also weird about it is all the inventors' machines, including that like Rube Goldberg machine for making the cookies, all the different parts look like little people. So the part with like the whisks looks like a person with like a robot with arms made out of whisks, and then the person chopping the lettuce or whatever it was, or he had another chopping machine, and it looked like a robot person with choppy hands. Like
he
it's
made
weird that
all these
everything
things
looks
with
like a person.
faces because he was lonely.
Right.
Yeah.
Ugh, this whole movie is just about loneliness. Maybe that's why I liked it so much. Hashtag
Yeah,
homeschooled.
Go ahead. Sorry.
I was just gonna say, yeah.
I'm just confused as to. I know the movie's called Edward Scissorhands, so you need to have a man named Edward with scissor hands. But they meant this man bleeds when he gets cut, and he heals, and he has scars, and he has eyes, and he can taste, and he can eat. He has feet. why would the hands be the last thing that he makes? I don't understand why he would bring this sentient creature to life without actually having
there are a lot of things
fundamental
I
part
don't
of what makes him.
understand about Edward. Like, I mean, obviously he bleeds, but why doesn't he age? And what's underneath that leather? Like, what's going on there? Does he not sweat? Does he not get dirty? I feel like that would be very
Does he
uncomfortable.
pee or poop?
Does he have a penis? What's going on? I'm so confused.
Yeah. To me it doesn't really make sense biologically, because you're right, like he doesn't age either.
I'm gonna
It doesn't
I'm gonna
make
go out
sense.
on a limb. I think there's a penis. I think there's a lot of mashing going on with that penis. A blending of penis testicle kind of.
Does he have to have like baby powder or like anything in there for?
Well,
so
he
doesn't
never
get
takes off
shaved?
the suit. He
And
just
you,
puts stuff over the suit.
the funny
true.
thing is, they were so quick to not even address what's underneath.
Right.
I mean, so much of it was just like, here, put these clothes on over that. It looks comfortable enough. Just, we need a collar, you know?
Well, the Avon lady, like, she brings him home because
Peg.
she's just apparently the sweetest, dumbest person on the planet. She gives him towels, probably to wash up, but then just
Yeah.
doesn't push the issue.
Yeah.
Well, there's a lot of things wrong with his whole like how he functions once they bring him in, and I think Alan Arkin, who played the father, is like the only one who
Amazing.
really kind of like thinks about these things. So they just let him touch all these things, and he's eating and he's preparing food, and then he goes and cuts the hedges, and like the son is gonna just let him like hose it off, and Alan Arkin's like, no, get the oil, you got to keep this things nice. And then there is like that one girl who's like, I'm not going to eat that. It's not sanitary. But everybody else is completely cool with him like cutting food and then cutting their hair or their dogs or their edges.
Right.
Does
Well,
he give
I
like
would
a
say-
sanitary clip to those dogs? I don't know.
I would say no offense to Edward, but, you know, not calling him like the household pet, but that's the way it is, you know, like you let your dog lick your face and everyone else is like, no, that's okay, I'll pass. It's kind of the same. It's like, no, we know where those shears have been. Come on.
There's
You know?
no way he'd be able to get a cosmetology license because you have to go through certain sanitation things. Like you can't just go from use the same clippers on the next client.
Yeah.
And he's
Well, he'd have to
definitely-
jump into one of those, you know, avant-garde kind of hairstylists, you know.
So
I
we're
mean,
just really
clearly.
picking apart Edward, but we're not even talking about the movie. And there's a
Oh.
lot of stuff that goes on in this movie.
Can I just say, like, the opening scene, I freaking hate Winona Ryder as the old lady. Why
Okay.
are so many actors
Let's-
so terrible at making an old person voice?
But
I don't understand.
But there's something for me, there's something very nostalgic about her old lady voice because I remember it so distinctly being
Terrible.
terrible.
She does like
But-
the same voice as I can't think of her name. In Back to the Future, like when they put her in like the old makeup
Elizabeth
too.
Elizabeth Shue.
No, not Elizabeth Shue. His mom. I can't remember her. Oh, it's gonna
Not
drive me
Elizabeth Shue.
Not Elizabeth Shue.
Oh.
Elizabeth Shue played the love interest in
The
the
only
second
one
one.
other woman in that movie.
No, that's not true. There's also
Yeah.
the mom from Step Brothers is in the third one.
Oh, jeez.
Yeah.
Anyway.
But the thing that I do like about the opening, I love how
Leah Thompson. Sorry.
Leah Thompson, that's it. I love how the opening, that room that she's telling the story in, you know, with the snow and the hill and all that stuff, and this little girl's room has this like amazing fire. It's like this Germanic like fairy tale folklore
Right.
kind of thing, and then it's just like, oh, that's it transitioning.
Right.
Well, and then it has this like really nice town that's like
Yeah.
a model, like it's all little model houses and stuff.
It's
and then
fantastic.
it
Very
zooms
much
out and
like
you just see this
Beetlejuice.
one lonely mountain that looks
Right.
terrifying.
It just looks
Like,
like a
absolutely.
basalt tower or something. Not
You know.
imposing at all. And no one ever goes up there.
Yeah, why
obviously.
did Peg go up there?
It's very Seuss-like. Well, because she was hustling. The
Yeah.
whole reason this movie takes place is because Diane Wiest is a hustler. Like that's
Pretty much.
she is always on it.
She had the exact same car as my grandmother.
I'm sure it was a different one.
Same car. It was the same one.
But I mean, when she went up there and she opens the door and she sees everything's covered in cobwebs and doesn't hear or see anybody, why did she keep going? I don't get it.
It's that wide-eyed wonder.
I guess.
I love that woman so much. I'm a huge Diane Weiss fan. I mean, she's
great.
Unbelievable.
She looks like she can be related to Kim Basinger.
A little bit.
And at least in this movie, I think she looks a lot like Kim Basinger.
I kind of feel like that house, though, even for, I don't know, what do we call him? The doctor, the inventor, was a highly impractical living space. Like, he didn't really have much to do with any of the living area except for his machines. So why was he up there? I don't understand.
It was a family estate, all right?
But I mean, but yeah, it's like Mike said. I mean, that's classic Dr. Frankenstein. You know, I mean, especially, I mean, and there's, you know, that's the way it is. Basically, you're doing stuff that, you know, the community might have, you know, some, you know, their 2 cents about it. So yeah, you got to go to isolation to create your monster.
I just wonder how long it had been that they got up there. Okay, so like, I mean, the inventor had to eat at some point, so people would have been making deliveries, and then did no one just ever realize that they stopped making food deliveries? And what happened to his dead body? Like, did Edward cut him up? I don't know.
Did Edward eat him?
Does Edward need to eat? I have so many questions.
Well, he gets hungry. There's multiple times like, are you hungry? And he shakes his head, yes.
Right. How does he get food up there? How did he get that giant block of ice at the end of the movie? Okay, that's bothering me.
Magic. Well, they do mention that the town never had snow until he arrived.
Yeah, because he's carving up a giant block of ice and making ice sculptures. Where did he get the ice? He makes the ice. Oh, God.
He's an inventor. Maybe the inventor had like a giant ice maker. That used to be a giant industry until the 60s when refrigeration became practical for consumers. You used to have an ice box, so somebody had to make the ice.
Oh, God.
And they had ice factories. So maybe he
has
an ice factory up there.
How did they make the ice? All right. There are too many questions of the world now.
I really want to just talk about the neighbors, though.
Oh,
so
they were so good.
Basically, in a nutshell, like Peg brings him down, and everyone's like calling everybody like, dude, she's got a guy in the car. What's up? And then they all go and hang out outside the house trying to figure out what's going on until evening comes and all the men come home.
Because they're desperately bored.
And then they scatter. And then the next day it shows all the men leave at the exact same time. And they're like this perfectly choreographed people backing out of the driveway and lining up and leaving.
It's odd how few children there are, though.
That you see. Yeah.
Right. I mean, in the neighborhood, it seems odd because I feel like the era that they're sort of trying to portray or evoke would be kind of an era when like
60s.
Those subdivisions all sort of popped up at the same time and people moved in where there were kids for their kids to play with. So why was the little boy pretty much like the only child there?
Oh, there was a school. You know there was a school because he brought Edward for show and tell. He brought presumably a human being to show and tell, which is
I feel like we only see the kids in the school, though.
That's true.
Well, because they're up there camping.
Oh, well, that's the teenagers.
No, everyone is camping.
Everybody's camping. Everybody under 18.
Yeah, it's a law.
So what's interesting is like these people are like super into Edward initially. Like no one's really freaked out. They're just like, what is this? And they're super excited, and then they get him to do all the hedges in the entire neighborhood, and then they find out he can cut dog hair, which how does he get that close?
I know
such
that
a clean
was
shave.
That bothered me. I was okay with the no food deliveries, you know, because I just assumed that they ate cookies for like 80 years.
Right.
But that did bother me how close, because we've all been there. You're not getting that close. You're not getting that close with those giant sewing scissors or fabric scissors. I can honestly say I don't think I've ever said fabric scissors.
So the neighbors are all into it, and then he starts cutting the women's hair, and they're super into it. In fact, forgot her name, but I'm just going to keep calling her Thirsty Housewife. like, has like an orgasm on the lawn while she's getting her hair cut.
Toes curling, and it was fantastic.
Her matching nail polish and lipstick.
Loved it.
It's a great scene. It's really weird. And they also, like, basically the entire town loves him. He goes on TV and is on a talk show, and everybody's super interested in him. And then everybody immediately turns against him because Anthony Michael Hall tricks him into breaking into his own house so he can steal his dad's, like, stereos and big TV so they can sell it so he can buy a car.
Well, their default was suspicious.
Yeah.
What was that?
Like, they were initially suspicious.
Nobody was really that suspicious. They were just like, who is this person? What it is? Like, what's he doing?
They're like,
and then
who's
as soon as
that
they saw
weirdo?
Until
they thought
he
it was
offered
weird,
a service.
but they were all like, oh, we've got a doctor who can help you out. And they genuinely liked him and wanted him around until that. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, we all knew he was bad. He was all like, we always knew he was going to do something bad. And then the thirsty one says that he tried to rape her. And then just everybody hates him and everybody's looking for a reason to go after him from that point.
Well, and what's ridiculous about that is that none of that situation had to be that way if Kim had just, like, stepped forward and been a decent human being. I hate Kim.
Yeah, which later on she's trying to be like, do
I
the right
love
thing. But it's like she
you.
could have done it at the beginning. She could have done it at any point. Like, this
Right.
didn't happen. This is what happened. I'm really sorry. But no, that doesn't, it's just, she never does the right thing. So now he has to live in isolation for presumably another 60 years.
Right. And even if she wasn't going to, like, actually admit that she was complicit in the situation, she could have played it off like, oh, my boyfriend forced me. He just picked me up and forced me to go with him. And he forced me to tell Edward to do this. You know, at any point, she could have gotten off scot-free. It was not a big deal. And she didn't want to be with her boyfriend anymore anyway. So why didn't she stand up for Edward? She's just a horrible human being.
But here's the thing. Here's the thing about Kim. She wasn't so quick to say no to the mattress in the back of their own van.
Right.
I'm just going to put that out there, okay?
Well,
it was...
though they're definitely active because there's a point when they're trying to get
doing it
into
in
the
their
house.
friend's van. Like at that shopping center, they climb into the back and close the door.
Well, then they also try to get into Kim's house and they can't because she forgot her key. And you find out that somehow these scissors can get into small door locks and pop a lock open.
Well, he's good with his hands, you know?
And so, you know, Edward comes and lets him in the house, and then he like closes the door, and then Anthony Michael Hall as Jim comes back out and is like, hey, if Peggy comes, just give us a shout. Just basically imply like, I'm going to go bang Kim. You let us know if the mom comes.
Oh yeah, shout if Peg arrives.
Yeah.
So gross.
I love how sophisticated the sort of, not panic room, but the security measures.
You're right.
God, I love it.
Because
It's like a
I
museum
feel
system.
like those homes are so thin that I can see right through them.
Right.
Yet this has like a sunken sitting area and, airtight doors.
Mm-hmm.
Uh,
Well, this guy's the richest person in town.
Yeah, he has
It's
one
weird
extra
that he lives
bedroom.
in that neighborhood. Pretty much.
They have a study.
I just love the entire theme of this movie. I mean, and obviously, it's Tim Burton's style, but I love the commitment to detail and the pastels and
Gorgeous, absolutely gorgeous.
The score, like there was an actual theme to the
Danny
movie.
Elfman, come on.
Well, of
Anything.
course, Danny
I mean,
Elfman.
I think you really can't have a Tim Burton movie without Danny Elfman's score. I mean, like
I just love it.
everything.
Everything
Danny
about
Elfman's
it.
a big part of my childhood. He did the score for, of course, Batman. The 1989 Batman was a movie that I loved as a kid.
Is that
And
the
then he
one with
also
the
did the
nipples?
score. No, well, I mean,
that
eventually,
was-
yeah, it's the same universe. But the Michael Keaton ones, he did the music for.
Oh, okay.
And he also did the music for Spider-Man, and The Simpsons.
did.
So
Yeah.
Danny Elfman
That's
was
right.
just like a huge part of my childhood. Like I can pick out his music anywhere.
Yeah. This movie's just beautiful, though. Like, as weird as it is, it's gorgeous. And I feel like I could watch this movie every day for a month and still see new things every single time.
I was actually really impressed with the subtlety that Johnny Depp had. Like my first note was like when you first see him, I'm like, man, Johnny Depp was really Johnny Depping things in the 90s because he did a bunch of like weird faces initially,
Mhm.
but he did transform. So initially it was kind of weird, and then as he starts getting used to being in society, he gets more expressive and he starts talking more. And then once the town turns against him, that scene where he just had all that angst and he just goes down the hallway and he just scratches the entire wall, and then like just starts clawing at the wallpaper in the bathroom. Like, I really felt just that anguish and that hurt that he had. And then like I realized, I'm like, Johnny Depp is a good actor, and he's just been like phoning it in for the last 10 years.
Right.
But he's actually really good, and I kind of miss good Johnny Depp.
Well, and I think part of the reason he went so far with this character is because he was kind of like trying to kill, you know, the old characters and trying to get out of the roles that he had been cast in before, and basically, you know, trying to murder Officer Tom Hansen from 21 Jump Street. Basically, like he was
which is funny because
to get out of that.
He totally brings back a cameo in the remake.
Oh, that was great. I actually loved that.
That was fantastic. That was wonderful. That was such a lovely surprise.
I love Johnny Depp. I love Edward. His character's so completely delightful to watch. Like, every time you see that Edward is happy, I feel happy.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I loved when he got lemonade.
So
that
good.
gurgling noise at the end.
And Ellenurg, I mean, just a genius in this movie, and him just right there on the beats. It's good, isn't it?
Yeah.
It's
He has
good.
amazing comedic timing.
Yeah, fantastic.
I love when he's talking about
wonderful.
glands. He's like, they get these gland things. Their bodies swell up. They go crazy.
Well, what's
So
weird is he's
perfect.
talking about his own daughter.
I know.
Yeah.
Gland things.
Well, that whole scene is really funny, and it's kind of messed up that like the parents didn't think about this. So Edward is staying in Kim's bedroom, and she comes home super late at night one day, walks into that room and sees basically a monster with monster hands in her bed. She freaks out, and then so they set him up in like the dad's man cave on the couch, gives him like some sort of hard liquor, says it's lemonade, and like you said, those little noises like sounds. And what's really funny is the
you
mom
like see
talks
his
down.
face swell up.
Yeah, and he's like
His
all
eyes are
puckered and everything.
bloodshot.
Oh yeah, his eyes get super red. It's creepy.
It's so
good.
weird. It's
And-
such a good choice, though.
Well, it's probably because he doesn't have like Vincent Price as the inventor probably didn't imagine him drinking alcohol and didn't give him like a liver or something for filtering out the alcohol.
So that's just a visual representation of cannot compute.
Oh,
Well, it's
hang
great.
on. So he does eat in this movie.
He eats throughout the entire movie.
Yeah.
He's constantly eating.
Go.
Vincent Price is a good inventor, you know?
Does he have like a little pouch that opens? Does
He has
he
a little
poop?
flap like those old school pajamas that
How
have a
does
little
he
flap in the
open
butt.
it? I have so many questions now.
But now that's assuming that his reproductive system is like that of a human. We don't know. It could be forming
Cloaca.
energy or something, you know, going on like that.
Energy.
Yeah.
He burns
We don't-
everything. Like he has an internal combustion engine.
Listen, with all the
It could be.
with all the black and stuff that he has that he's wearing, we have no idea. Vincent Price
my
could have
God.
been way ahead of solar energy here. He could be. There's no telling, and the food is really just a way to fit in, because that's what the
Right.
whole movie's about, fitting in.
That's
Right.
true. Well,
God.
and-
Side note, though, I can't even imagine what it must have felt like to film in that freaking costume.
Oh God.
Because that is not real leather. Like, that is straight up plastic.
yeah.
But it makes those delightful little noises every time he moves.
Yeah.
Oh, it's so good. So good.
And
Anyway.
then just getting back to that lemonade scene really quick, what I thought was funny about that is like Peg goes to Kim and like tries to calm her down and like, let's go introduce. And then he just like presumably several minutes later comes back down. They introduce him and he's just like making those sounds to like, and then passes out and she freaks out. And then several days later, he's offered lemonade by thirsty housewife and he just throws up on her. So he throws up.
He does
He
throw up.
does.
I just, I don't understand what the appeal of Kim is for him. Like,
He's never seen a girl that
Yeah.
looks like roughly his age. And
And it's
When I-
1990.
when I-
That's the
how
formula
old
there.
is he really? How old is Edward?
Well,
like,
you don't
what
know.
is he attracted to? Does he have gonads? Because that would dictate a lot what he's attracted to. I think if I were Edward, I would be, down to spend time with people who are nice to me. Like, Peg is great. She takes him in. She gives him free skincare. Like, his life drastically improved. People like him because of her. Kim is just kind of a bitch to him the whole time.
Vincent Price, as the inventor, gives him, like, etiquette lessons. And, he's probably, very old-fashioned and probably basically told him, like, hey, a young man finds himself a young, beautiful girl kind of thing. So he's probably been told that's what he's supposed to look for.
It's so sad.
But yeah, there's never a point where she's nice to him until basically the whole town turns against him and she just feels guilty for it being her fault.
Pretty much.
But she never really has a tender moment with him before, like, go run away, hold me before you go first.
Right. It's like a pity kiss.
Right.
Yeah, she does, she starts, there's that small transition with her saying, oh, we can't leave him when he's trapped in the security measures, know, and so she shows, but then at the same time, one could argue, and one could argue that maybe she doesn't want to get in trouble. That's not the case, but one could say that. But no, it's just, she was there's a lot of device elements there. Just, it's 1990 and it's, we don't have to, like, fully think everything out. I mean, we got a guy with scissors for hands. Do we really need to do any more? Like,
exactly.
We're going to have some crazy, like, dinosaurs and stuff, made a
dude, that dinosaur was
How did
badass.
he reach that high?
He jumped.
You don't see a ladder, do you?
He jumped repeatedly very quickly. He could do it. He's Edward.
I could see a pogo stick.
But getting back to when I wrote it, there is a point where when he's on TV, she's looking at him, and, like, there is a little bit of, like, recognition that she sees that he cares for her, and then she's kind of, like, has that, like, internal, like, look, and then Jim looks at her like, what's wrong with you, kind of thing. So I guess there's a little bits and hints there, here and there, that she's kind of into him for some reason, but not much.
Well, and wait, what was Michael Anthony Hall's name? Jim
and Kim.
Boy, these names are just right up there, aren't they?
Right.
And he's so quick to just jump in there and be like, oh, you like him, don't you? Or he likes you. But, I mean, it's just, that's just that classic writing. And then you have the son. What was the son's name?
Kevin,
who, the kid from, Honey, I Shrunk the Kids?
Is that him?
It is.
I recognized him,
but
I couldn't figure it out.
He doesn't really offer anything there early on. He jumps right in there. I'll throw my sister under the bus to make the older guy laugh.
Yeah.
Right.
So there is a bit of that. So, but yeah, I'd say.
Well, that kid definitely saw Edward as an item. Like, his first thing was, I want to take him to
show and tell.
And then at show and tell, he sets him up as, like, this person who could be a killer. He's like, he could cut your head off with one karate chop. And then, like, they choreographed a whole thing.
Great.
That kid was kind of a jerk.
He was kind of a jerk.
And because of him, that's what basically sets off the whole end of the movie, and the final confrontation is Edward is, out in the backyard, and Anthony Michael Hall confronts him. He runs away. Kim breaks up with him. He gets drunk and then comes back and almost runs over Kevin in the van. And Edward saves him, but in the meantime, like, he's, like, frantic, and he's, like, trying to make sure he's okay, and he, like, cuts up his face, like, really bad.
God knows wide angles just make it so creepy. Sorry.
Yeah,
but that shooting is just that symmetrical wide angle shooting, and the quick truck-ins. It's crazy.
Ugh.
And then the whole town turns against him, and then, like, just mobs him, and then, like, that cop pretends to kill him, and then just drives away, which is weird. It's all over. There's nothing to see here. I got him. And then the movie just kind of they go up to the top of basically it's a castle, to Frankenstein's castle,
right?
And they have the confrontation.
I don't know if you noticed, but that mountain and castle both change in scale every single shot.
Yes.
Oh yeah, totally.
Absolutely.
Which I love. I absolutely love that. That's classic.
When you have the wide shots of the entire mountain, the castle seems to take like the entire width of the mountain,
right?
And then when you get to the top, it's like clearly not that big,
right?
And then when you're in it, it's much bigger than what the outside was,
right?
Definitely has a Grinch feel.
Uh-huh.
You know, as far as just like the landscape. But I mean, even the community, it's very Seuss.
Yeah, it is. Yeah.
Apparently that community, like the houses, like the trivia on IMDb says the houses used in the film were a real community in Florida, completely unchanged except for their garish exterior paint.
I can see that.
That's completely bizarre to me.
I'm sure they
but I kind of love
kept
it.
the paint.
Probably.
I mean,
honestly, well, like the whole layout where a lot of them didn't have fences between them and it was just grass. It's very much like the way people live in the Caribbean, at least like the, you know, U.S. Virgin Islands and parts of Puerto Rico. It's like that,
Right.
you know? You don't really have fences. You just have bars on all your windows.
And crazy security measures.
Yeah, right? If you're rich, yep.
Like, what did he have in there?
Well, he had
What was it again?
At the dinner...
His audio equipment and
Yeah, he had an
surround
entire
sound
setup.
What a
Because they
jerk.
mentioned that the kitchen got redone.
I mean, talk about a half-cocked plan, you know?
Right. He had no idea what it was. Well, his big thing, his motivation for doing it is while he's over for dinner, Jim is complaining that his rich dad
Right.
won't buy him a car.
The car.
Right.
And then they mentioned that the mom just got a new kitchen because the dad just spent like a ton of money on a big screen TV, state-of-the-art CD player, state-of-the-art speakers.
Right. He doesn't
And
let
the whole
him
thing
deal
was
with
just
it.
like, I deserve a car.
Yeah. Yeah.
He's entitled millennials.
Total brat.
So
I don't think he's a millennial.
No. So I love.
I'm just going to go ahead and every insult has to come back to a millennial. Even if it has nothing to
does.
do with them, you know? It's like,
It does.
damn it, I'm out of butter.
So
Hey,
millennials-
killed the paper napkin.
part of what I love, I'm just completely like swerving here. Part of what I love so much about Johnny Depp's characterization here is that like Edward is so skinny, and I thought that was more like his body language, but apparently he lost like 25 pounds for this role.
Oh, wow.
Right, like I didn't even know he had an extra 25 pounds before this to lose. Like he must have just starved himself and like
He must have
not
'cause
moved.
If you look at it, like pictures of him from 21 Jump Street and what's that like Crybaby movie? He's got a lot
Crybaby came
of
out
fat
the
in his
same
face.
year as this.
Yeah.
Yeah, they've got a lot of fat. He's got like a chubby face in Crybaby still.
And then he completely loses it for this.
Could
Yeah.
not
It's
get away from the
freaking
leather
crazy.
in 1990, could he?
Maybe he just like put on another version of that suit and just laid in his own filth for a few weeks.
Just like
Sweated it
sweated
out.
everything out.
God.
That's a
Gross.
solid theory, I think. Gary Oldman was offered that role and turned it down, but I'm
Weird.
so glad that we got Johnny Depp instead.
Do you know what he did instead?
No.
Dracula? No, it's a few years too early.
I know Winona Ryder turned down a Godfather movie to be in this.
Huh.
That's
Is
interesting.
that why Sofia Coppola was in that movie? Godfather 3?
Maybe.
Was it that role?
Probably.
Huh.
Ah.
Ugh.
All right.
Damn millennials.
So entitled. All right. So is there anything else that you guys really want to mention? It's burned into your psyche about this movie.
I just really liked when Edward got angry, like when he goes out into town on his little like rampage afterwards,
Aw,
and it's
but
like
he
pretty.
like slashed that tire. That
He
seems
slashed
so
the tire,
unnecessary.
destroyed somebody's head. But then we never even mentioned the religious nut job in this one. But he goes and sets up
Oh God,
a
I
hedge in
love
front of her
that.
window shaped like a demon,
Mhm.
which was great.
So good.
And somehow it lit up with red eyes. I don't know how that worked, but
I think that could that have
Christmas
been a
lights.
reflection of something she. Oh yeah, maybe it's Christmas lights. That does.
oh,
make
maybe
sense.
yeah, because they were getting ready for Christmas at that
Right.
time. Yep.
That's also I
Like,
love
so
that
sad.
about Tim Burton. Like, yeah, because you were saying, oh, it's a Halloween movie, but it's probably more of a Christmas movie,
Right, it is.
if anything. Which is funny because I think Speed takes place during Halloween.
No, you're
Speed?
thinking Die Hard.
Die Hard.
No, Die Hard's Christmas.
Die Hard's Christmas.
Oh no, wait, no, you said Speed is
Speed
Halloween.
is Halloween.
Speed is a Halloween movie.
I don't even
I don't think
remember
it is.
Speed.
I really think I saw something the other night when I watched it half asleep. We're gonna
must always watch Speed.
We're gonna revisit this. I really do think.
I would watch Speed for this. I loved Speed. Speed was like the first like action movie that I was like super into. That wasn't like a superhero movie.
They made
I
quite
loved
a
Speed
few
as a
of them,
kid.
didn't they?
They
Like
made
3.
two.
Really?
They made
two.
3.
There was Speed
2.
and
I thought
Speed
they had 3.
2 Cruise Control, which took place on a cruise ship.
Sandra Bullock.
Oh boy.
Yeah. And
No,
the second
no.
one did
It
not
wasn't
have Keanu
Sandra
Reeves in it.
Bullock, was it?
Sandra Bullock was on the first one, but not
Yeah.
the
She was
second
in
one.
both.
She was.
What?
She was in
in
the cruise
both.
ship one. Yeah.
Oh, sweet Jesus. She has bad luck then.
Yep.
I think that was
What
a
are the
joke
odds?
in the movie.
Yeah.
There's like constant throwbacks.
Yeah, there's a
I
ton.
don't know.
That's a different podcast, though.
This reminds me when I was on the bus. That's a Sandra
all right.
Bullock impression. Anyway,
Nice. Oh, so Drew Barrymore was also considered for the role of Kim, which I think I
can
would have
s-
liked to see.
I can see that. That
I
would
think
be
she would
interesting.
have been delightful.
Was she sober at this point?
Probably not.
That would be even better. That might make more sense with the company she
Right.
keeps.
But we got Wino forever.
That's true.
I love
Oh.
Why no
it. I
forever?
love it.
Oh,
So sad.
that's why you don't get people's names tattooed on you.
Stupid.
Yep.
Okay. So I think that's about it. You guys have anything else to say about this movie?
I would like to say that Diane Weiss can be my Avon representative any day.
I think one of my favorite moments in this film is when
The high school student.
she's puttying his face and she's like, darn this thing. I love her. I love
I
her
like
in
when
that
she's-
role. She's so good.
I like when she's selling stuff, then she's in that like teenager's room. She's like, "Do you think I have money?"
I know. Poor dear.
They're just all mean to her.
Okay, so this movie, I loved it as a child. I think now looking back, I didn't really know what I was watching. I think I just liked it because it was weird and visually amazing. But now, oh my God, I just have this whole other level of appreciation for this movie, and I could watch it again tonight, honestly. I love this
agree.
movie. Absolutely did not ruin my childhood.
Not at
A
all.
plus.
I was shocked by this movie. I didn't remember it all, and I thoroughly enjoyed it from beginning to end. Like a lot of times, like we won't pause a movie if somebody has to get up to go to the bathroom, get a drink of water, but we paused it every time. I didn't want to miss a minute of it. I loved it.
Worth it.
Absolutely. So much more than landscaping. For me, looking back at it, I didn't realize how amazing the performances were. How
They were great.
How
Very
tight
nuanced.
the comedy was. And I don't know why I wouldn't remember that, because before this, I mean, Pee-wee's Big Adventure, I mean, that is tight, tight comedy. Comedy and art
It is.
direction.
Yeah, that's
just
Tim Burton too. Yeah.
unbelievable. And Tim Burton, yeah, I mean, comedy and art direction. You don't really see that too much.
Oh, love
Yeah.
it. All right. So, Thaddeus, where can we find you online, and tell us a little bit about your podcast?
Oh, sorry. You can. I wasn't expecting anything, and my hair's in curls.
You didn't think we were going to let you plug your podcast?
Well, we're just a small little firm here. No, you can find Thaddeus Ellenberg's Casual Friday at tecasualfriday.com. It's on iTunes. It's on Google Play. Choose your, pick your poison there. So yeah, basically, what did you want me to say about it?
Tell us about it. Tell
Tell us about
our
it.
listeners.
Hold on, my cat is getting in my lap, so we're gonna have to really adjust here. Okay, Beans, that's lovely. So yeah, basically these are little one-offs, anywhere between 15 to 20 minutes. I love the comedy of the 30s and the 70s. I know there's a wide range there, but wit. Basically, the writers of the 70s, Woody Allen, Steve Martin, and these guys loved, that witty, ironic humor, and parody was king, and it's just fantastic. So, I do these little episodes that are very much in the vein of the New Yorker style little one-offs that they refer to as casuals. And so, yeah, it's basically whatever's on my mind. Right.
Nice. And you write
Right.
them all?
Yeah, I write and narrate them. And it's anything from, a look at lake monsters, or this last one was reincarnation. And if you expect to really like gain any actual like factual substance from these episodes regarding said subject, it's not gonna happen.
No, I've listened to a few episodes and I love them, and I wasn't sure if you had written all of them because they were so varied in the style.
Oh my
but
God,
they
I
all
love
had that wry humor in common, and they're so easy to listen to, and the production quality is so high, and they're just it's a great podcast, and we're really happy that we're able to have you on here.
Well,
Yeah, thanks
thank
for
you.
coming on.
Yeah, this was fantastic.
And Mike, where can we find you online?
Well, I basically only have a social media presence as MDXpods. So you can go to MDXpods.com. We're on Twitter at MDXpods. Of course, check us out on Instagram for, our little teasers and little quick movie trivia stuff that we put up basically daily. And yeah, that's pretty much it. Check out our other podcast, Remake Rewind, that comes out every other Wednesday. We're doing 4 episodes this month for Halloween. Check us out on patreon.com/MDXpods. We're doing a giveaway for anybody who contributes this month. We're giving away some of Dustin's artwork, which is awesome. But that's pretty much all we got. And of course, check out the description for this episode. We're going to have links for Thaddeus's contacts and his show and everything on there to make it easy for you guys to find it.
And as always, I'm all over the internet at Katrinaosity. Check me out on YouTube. And thank you guys so much for listening.
Thanks. Bye.
Bye.
Bye-bye.